In nature, in the plant world, if you consider the most amazing creation of nature in the plant world, it will be aquatic plants, definitely. Aquatic plants are unique. As suggested, they grow underwater. Aquatic plants, underwater plants, right? And they have unique abilities. You can actually say magical. Today, we're going to discuss, or we're going to start discussing aquatic plants. I don't think we can discuss everything in one video because there are so many facets, but today we'll introduce aquatic plants. The first information you should know about aquatic plants, so you can start to understand which direction to take in your aquascape. So that's what we will discuss today. I already said aquatic plants are unique, okay, but to understand this uniqueness, we need to understand what are the different kinds of aquatic plants that are there and why that makes them unique. Now, there are divisions, subdivisions, subclassifications. So if you take a paper and pen, this will help you a lot more. Now, in aquatic plants, there are 100% aquatic and semi-aquatic. 100% aquatic means they cannot grow on land. They always have to grow in water. And when the water recedes, now most of the connections I'm going to make with nature, so keep that in mind. It's not part of your aquarium, right? So when the water recedes in summer, these plants will either disperse seeds before the water recedes, or they are in a bulbous form like a lily or the Aponogeton species. Aponogeton ulvaceus, Aponogeton madagascarensis, beautiful plant. These are all 100% aquatic. Also Blixa species. Now what the Blixa species will do is it will give a flower and disperse seeds, and when the water recedes or in the summer there is no water in that stream, the plant dies. The seed goes to another location, and when it rains again, it grows back. The oddball in this list can be considered as floating plants. Now floating plants have to be considered fully aquatic because they grow in water, or you can't say in water because the roots are in water and the leaf are floating on top. The root does not anchor to anything, okay, it does not anchor to the soil or anything like that, but yes, over a period of time the roots grow very long and can reach the soil. But mostly they will be seen floating over a lake or a stream or these kind of places. High water flow areas you will not see floating plants. It's always slow water flow areas is where you will see floating plants. Floating plants are actually beneficial for an aquarium or an ecosystem because they generally take out all the excess nutrients that are there in the system. So if there is a lot of nutrients in the water causing algae and you add floating plants, the chances are that the nutrients are taken away by the floating plants and algae gets very little nutrients. Also, floating plants in nature and in an aquarium create a safe space for fish, especially baby fish or even baby shrimp or even small animals. They hide in these floating plants and they find safety. So floating plants, yes, they are considered aquatic and they can be considered fully aquatic because they do not grow on soil and they need to be in water to grow. Now in this there are, again, oddball is the Ludwiga schizoides. I think it is schizoides or schizoides, yeah. Beautiful looking plant. The roots reach the soil and then there is a shoot that comes up and then the leaf or the main floating area is on top on the surface of the water. Diamond shape, red and green color, unique plant. But in an aquarium, it will cause a mess. In a pond, it's a beautiful plant to use. Semi-aquatic plants, on the other hand, have the ability to transform. Now, this is the magical part, where when the water recedes in summer, water is very low, they are outside of water, the roots are in the soil. They transform, they change their leaf structure in a manner where they can absorb carbon dioxide from the air. Again, when it rains and the water fills up, they transform again into a form where now they can absorb carbon dioxide in the water. Now this is a magical thing. Further to this, in this whole semi-aquatic section, which is a large section, you have different subdivisions. In the hobby, we call them stem plant, carpet plant, rosette plant, rhizome plant, so on and so forth. In this, the division is fairly clear. You have three major sections. One being a stem plant, where there is a stem and the root is towards the bottom, mostly towards the bottom. So the roots are in the soil and the stem grows upwards. Then you have something called a rosette plant. Okay, Cryptoconch species, Echinodorus species, these are all rosette plants, where the root is in the bottom, always grows downwards, and the stem or the leaf and stem are more or less the same thing. So the leaf comes out directly. There's very little stem. In Echinodorus, there is a longer shoot of the leaf. Now, I'm not going technical. I'm trying to explain this as simply as possible or as easily as possible so that you can get a simple idea and not very complicated. Yeah. In the stem plant compared to a rosette plant, the difference is stem plant can grow roots from anywhere. Any node, it can grow roots. Matlab, if you cut the stem plant and plant it again, it will grow new roots. Whereas rosette plant, you have to break the rosette. Okay, you cannot cut a leaf and plant and it will not grow. Okay, you have to break the rosette. The rosette increases. It becomes wider and wider. You break the rosette and you have multiple plants. Each plant may have one leaf and it will grow more leaves later. People who have used Cryptoconch species, you will know this. Now, the third section is carpet plant, what we call carpet plant, and we use it in the front. Now, actually, if you look at it naturally, there is no carpet plant as such. They are also stem plants which grow small, that's all. Because of the position they grow in nature, usually towards the bank of a river, they grow short and they spread. They send out shoots and they spread. They don't grow tall. That's why you need high light for them. That's the connection. Because most of the carpet plants, you will see them growing on the bank of the river where there is high light. On the contrary, if you look at any of the rosette plants, they will give runners. Echinodorus species are famous for this. Vallisneria, famous. Again, rosette plant, long leaf, it will give out runners. It will give a runner and a new plant will start. So these are the few plants that can survive both in water and out of water. Exclude Vallisneria in that. Okay, Vallisneria needs water. Not that it will die. The root system will stay in the bottom in the soil, and then when again it rains, it will come, new leaves will come, and they'll grow very tall. Vallisneria has a tendency to grow 6 feet, 7 feet tall. See, there are so many small variations in most of the plants, but this is, I'm trying to generalize it so you get an idea. In this subdivision, like I said, in the semi-aquatic section, we have the stem, carpet and rosette. We also have the rhizome. Now these plants don't need soil to grow. Like you have the stem, the rosette and the carpet, they need some kind of a soil to grow so that the roots take anchor, they get nutrition from the soil and they grow. Whereas the other section, rhizome based or epiphytes, they don't need a soil to grow. Like anubias, ferns, all the varieties in this, Bucephalandra. Now, these are actually not fully aquatic plants. You can call them marginally semi-aquatic plants because they get submerged underwater during rainy season and they don't die. Because they're found mainly in the Congo River Basin, Borneo, Indonesia, where these are all tropical rainforests and it's always wet, and when it rains, they get submerged in the water, but they don't actually die. An Indian species also we have like that, which is called the Lagenendra, but it's not a rhizome species, it needs soil to grow. It's a rosette plant, beautiful plant, can compare to Cryptoconch. Sorry, I added this in between because I just remembered. But we are talking about epiphytes. All your Anubia species, all your Bucephalandra species, all your fern species, again, you can call them semi-aquatic because they can grow in both conditions. There are marginal changes in the leaf or the leaf structure, and they are slow growing because their primary growth area is not underwater, it is above water. Where the root can be underwater, rhizome slightly underwater, but leaves, if they are above water, they grow faster. So that's why to propagate anubias and ferns, they usually do it above water. In farms and stuff like that, they do it above water so that they grow faster in that condition. Underwater, they are slow growing. Now, in this, one part that we have not discussed is moss. Moss does not have root or rhizome or anything. You can put the moss and it will start spreading. It will hold on and it will start spreading. So it doesn't come under these category, but again, moss does not require any soil. It does not require any anchor. You can just throw it in the tank and it will start growing. Even if it is floating around, it will grow, right? So now we have clear, larger sections. We have 3 sections, which is the completely aquatic, semi-aquatic and moss. Now, most aquatic moss will not grow outside because they need a certain temperature or cooler temperature, so they will not grow out of water. Land moss will not grow in water. So you can consider aquatic moss to be aquatic and not semi-aquatic. Now when you take this division, now you start understanding how which plant looks and how it will perform and what it requires. Let's start with moss. It does not require anything. It does not require soil. It does not require heavy lighting. It does not require fancy fertilization. The only thing for aquatic moss or actually even terrestrial moss is temperature. The water has to be cool. Matlab about 21-22 degrees, then they will grow beautifully. If it's about 23-24 degrees, then they will grow, but not as you would get at 21 degrees. If the water temperature is 25, 26 or 27, then their growth gets stunted. They slow down. You cannot have too cold water. 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, they will not grow. 18 and above moss is ideal. Moss does not need any fancy lighting, fertilizer. It doesn't need anything. It is capable of growing with whatever little bit of nutrition is available in the system. So you will see in nature moss is growing on stones, on wood, anything that they can anchor themselves to, and they will grow in that area. They will grow beautifully. Moss helps your fauna grow very well because moss also holds a lot of microorganisms. So they will actually help the fish and shrimp get food, give the shrimp babies, the fish babies hiding space. In an aquarium, maintaining moss is very difficult if you don't know how to do it. How to maintain, we will talk about later. Let's move to the epiphytes. Epiphytes need a good quality ecosystem. They need nutrition in the tank. Yes, they are called low light plants. Now, why are they called low light plants? Because they come from a rainforest, Congo River Basin or wherever, Borneo and all of these places. These rainforests have tall trees with canopies. So very little light passes through and comes onto that stream or onto that river or wherever the plants are growing. So it's always shaded. So these plants have another ability to absorb as little light available and grow. What they do is they absorb carbon dioxide through their leaves, photosynthesis, the whole process, and they store the glucose in the rhizome. So in an epiphyte, the rhizome is the most important part. So when you go and buy an anubias or a fern or something, if somebody tells you I've got 20 leaves, 30 leaves, they're just misleading you. Look at the size of the rhizome. If the rhizome is thick and very good, that means that plant will grow, leaves will come back. And that's also the best way to grow anubias and ferns. When you buy, cut off all the old leaves. Allow new leaves to come. And the new leaves will come in an underwater condition. So they will grow more, better, their photosynthesis will be better, and you will not have any algae issues on the leaf. Epiphytes are divided into 3 parts. That is the main thing, the rhizome which I just explained, the root which holds on to whatever, like the wood or the stone that you tie it to or naturally anchors, and the leaf which helps with the photosynthesis. In this you have the anubias species, quite a lot, about 30-40 varieties, small, medium, large, tall, big, all of that. Then you have all the fern species, again ranging from needle leaf, narrow leaf, mini and larger ferns like the Java fern and so on and so forth. Then you have the varieties of the Bolbitis fern, African Bolbitis fern. They have different varieties. Bolbitis, like the Huduloti, will grow underwater, but the Heterociliata will not grow underwater. Though it is sold in the aquarium business, it will not grow. Okay, it is more of a terrestrial fern. Yes, similar species. And then the Bucephalandra. Again, Bucephalandra grows in Borneo in moist conditions, in a rainforest condition, not designed for aquatic life. But yes, it has the ability to grow underwater. So when you buy Bucephalandra, be prepared that it may die. Yes, they're expensive, but that is the situation. Now, how to condition them so that they grow in your aquarium, we'll discuss later. Let's come to the stem plants. The most amazing part of stem plants is, again, the fact that they can grow above water and underwater. Most farms, when we were younger, we would only get immersed plants, growing out of water. The root will be underwater, water will be flowing and the plant will grow out because it's easier or grows faster, propagates faster. Even today, in the pot, lot of places you get immersed plants. Most shops you get immersed plants. But they bring it to the shop and dump it in the water. Actually, they don't need to because it's an immersed leaf. So by dumping it into the water, they are forcing transformation and that's when the plant melts or dies. So they still don't understand this fact. Then a lot of farms got in the habit of putting it underwater. So you get submerged plant also. And now you get tissue culture and different formats. But stem plant will remain stem plant and its abilities will remain the same. Stem plants are usually used in the background of any aquarium because they grow tall. You have various colors like red, orange, yellow, pink, green, bright green, light green, golden, all of this. Most of the stem plants or common stem plants that you know of are styrogane species which are short, or styrogane portobello tall. The various varieties that are there in the rotala species. You have the Ludwiga species, you have the Kabamba, you have Hydrophila species. So many varieties, so many varieties. The list is fairly long. Limnophilia aromatica, Junkins repens, beautiful varieties, all stem plants. Stem plants, there is a certain way to grow. You need good quality soil. You need a good substrate layer below the soil so that they can anchor their roots. So because they're growing tall, if the root is weak, then they will start falling off. So they need a strong root base. They need good quality fertilizer or nutrients so that they can convert it to glucose. Again, photosynthesis, the whole process. So these are the major section. Yes, there are some exotic varieties like Pogostemon helferi downy, rosette. So again, observe the position of the root. Do they have a rhizome? Don't have a rhizome? How these things are growing, and that will tell you how they will behave in your aquarium. Basic simple pointers here. Monte Carlo will always grow downwards. Glossostigma will always grow upward. Why? I don't know. That's how it is created in nature. So if you are having a tank and you want to get Monte Carlo, a carpet on a higher level growing downwards, use Monte Carlo. You have a carpet here growing upwards, or a climber, it's actually a climber, use Glossostigma. It's like a creeper. So all of these aspects are very important. So when I say Monte Carlo growing downwards, ideally because it spreads out, at some point if there is nothing to hold it, it will fall down and it will grow downwards. That's probably the reason. But Glossostigma is a natural climber. It will move upwards. It will hold on something and it will climb. These plants need a lot of light, good quality light. We'll of course have a discussion on light in future videos. Good amount of nutrient. And of course, all of these plants require carbon dioxide, except for maybe moss. Again, moss also needs carbon dioxide, but it is able to grow with the minimal amount of carbon dioxide available in the tank, so it's fine. Now, there are some basic questions that always people have a problem with. Water already has some carbon dioxide in it. Is that not enough? No, it is not enough. Can we use DIY carbon dioxide? DIY carbon dioxide you cannot control. So it's a difficult proposition. Okay, can we use a reactor? Can we use any method? Any method where you can induce carbon dioxide into the system is a good method. Whether you use a diffuser or a reactor or an inline diffuser. The biggest problem with carbon dioxide diffusion is that most companies, especially all the Chinese companies, give you a ceramic diffuser. The ceramic diffuser will get blocked in 3 to 6 months. And then your carbon dioxide stops flowing the way it should. It stops getting diffused. So look for a sintered glass diffuser. There are many options. You don't have to go for fancy options like ADA or anything. Now there are many options. You can look for a sintered glass diffuser. So these are some basics. Additionally, the right fertilizer will always be the fertilizer that the plants can absorb easily. Let me give you a simple example here. Plant fertilizer works like an appetizer. So when you go to a restaurant, you first have soup. It's called an appetizer. It kind of, readies you for the rest of the food. Same here. Fertilizer, when you put in the tank in the morning, when the lights are on, plants absorb the fertilizer and the fertilizer kind of makes the plant more hungry. Now again, I'm doing this in a very, very simplistic manner. Now when the plants are very hungry, they will take more carbon dioxide. When they take more carbon dioxide, they will produce ample amount of glucose, which is the ulterior motive. Producing glucose and staying healthy, sugar. Okay, that is what gives them the health, the strength and everything. Now, once they take in that carbon dioxide, produce good amount of sugar, all the excess oxygen comes out because that's the byproduct of this chemical action of making glucose. Byproduct is oxygen. So, a lot of oxygen comes out into the tank, which actually becomes a beneficial thing for your whole ecosystem. The more oxygen in your ecosystem, the better your ecosystem, better bacteria, better healthier fish. So, this is crucial. This is what happens. So, your 5 basic elements: soil, that is the earth; sun, that is the light; water, the space that the plant needs to grow; and of course, all the elements of carbon dioxide and the air and the fertilizer that you add. All these elements have to come together for the plants to grow beautifully. So I've tried to explain the divisions in the plants. I hope this was useful to you guys. If you have any doubts, start with the comments, because plants, we are going to have multiple videos. We're looking at having videos for each and every plant. That is how we are working towards this. So this is only the beginning and there will be a lot more to come. So if you have doubts, put it in the comments, or you can join our Saturday Zoom class where you can ask your doubts live. So I'll meet you in the next video with a lot more information and details. Thank you.